The reason, the only reason, the reason I developed DBT in the first place was because I wanted to help other people have lives worth living, all right? The reason I'm writing about my past is that if I can have a life worth living, take it from me, so can you. Because very few people who've been through what I went through knew how to build a life worth living. So my life has to do with something that says to anyone, if I can do it, you can do it.
Todos sabemos que hay pacientes que, o personas, para no llamarlos pacientes, que en determinado momento tienen un malestar muy grande, son invadidos por la angustia, tienen un torbellino emocional, ellos sienten que los arrastra, y en ese momento aparece lo que se llama la ideación suicida, que es que se formula la idea de que el único alivio posible ahí es quitarse la vida. ¿Qué debería hacer la familia o un terapeuta en ese momento cuando la persona está envuelta en ese torbellino?
I mean, what can someone say? Well, it's very different what a parent can say and what a therapist can say. A parent really has to say, I love you. And no matter what anyone else has said about you, it may have made you so unhappy, they're wrong about you. So it's very different. I would not say that as a therapist, but a parent would need to say something like that, something soothing, something that could help them feel different about themselves. I'll give you an example of what goes on with kids. We just finished a really large study with DBT with adolescents. And what we found, which was unbelievable from my point of view, was the unbelievable mean things that get said online to children by other children who say things like, you're just so fat, why don't you just go ahead and kill yourself? Or, look at your nose, you should kill yourself. Why don't you think about that? And 25, 35, 55, 100 other things which get said to these children. In those situations, the only real person who can do anything probably is a parent, although a therapist also can be helpful. And we were helpful because we had very good outcomes. But a parent can say, how mean was that? A parent can say, it's not true about you. So parents have a lot of ability to say things that can soothe a child. Therapists don't have as much. Therapists can say things like that, but not as powerful as a parent can say. Going back to what would a therapist say, I don't know. What I can tell you what I would say. What I say to anyone who says they want to kill themselves, first of all, I say that's a bad idea. So I start off with that usually. Say there's no evidence whatsoever you're going to be happier dead than you are now. Let's be clear. You think you're going to be happier, but there's no data whatsoever for that particular point of view. So I think it's not a particularly great idea. So then I usually then move to, what is it in your life that's making life feel like it's not worth living? Let's figure that out. What's not making your life feel as if it's worth living? Because I feel sure if we could figure that out, we can figure out a way to make life experienced as worth living. And in general, for a therapist, that is the text. That is what a therapist has to do, is figure out a way to help a client experience life as worth living. People do not kill themselves who think life is worth living. They don't do it. And so that's really what you have to be able to be reasonably good at, is helping a client develop a life that they experience as worth living. And that is completely doable most of the time if you have a therapist who's pretty good at figuring out how to make life worth living. Parents can also do the same thing, but that would be much more difficult probably for a parent to do than for a therapist. So parents have to simply provide extreme loving understanding and suggest to the person that there is a life that can be worth living, and they can help the child with it. For a therapist to say to anyone who's talking about suicide, you have to point out to them that there's no evidence that they'll feel better, but almost always there's a lot of evidence that they're going to hurt a lot of other people. And so then you have to go through, are you really willing to hurt this many people? Because there's no way that you're going to kill yourself that you haven't hurt other people. The average client will immediately say, no one cares about me, no one cares if I'm dead or not. And so you have to be able to, you have to be a salesperson to be a good therapist. And therefore you have to be a good salesperson that is not true. If nothing else, I, your therapist, will be hurt and distressed. And it will really be painful. If nothing else, think of me. But in general, you've got to sell them on the idea of people that they love are going to be hurt. After you say all of that, you then have to say, let's give it a try. Let's see if we can make your life feel as if it's worth living. Why don't we take a try at that? You can always kill yourself later, but you can't unkill yourself if you do it. So let's try first building a life worth living and see how that goes.
Vos decías recién que el terapeuta puede maniobrar diciendo que si eso ocurriera, la muerte ocurriera, a mí sí, diría el terapeuta, me afectaría mucho. Muchas teorías dirían que eso no sería correcto porque sería una suerte de adopción del paciente. Es hacerse cargo, armar un lazo con el paciente. Si eso serviría como ortopédicamente primero hasta que se arme un lazo real, ¿sería esa la idea?
There's all kinds of rules that I disagree with. And one of them is exactly this. If I really love my client, what I say to them is, I really love you. So it'll be very painful to me if you go ahead and kill yourself, because I know that you also love me. My clients usually do. Or I might not say that. I might not say, I know you love me. But what I would say is, it'll be, I care about you so much that it will really be painful if you do. So I can't imagine not saying that, because it would sound like I don't care if they kill themselves or not. That I personally don't care. Their parents care, everybody else cares, but I don't care. Another way you can say it is, you know, if you kill yourself, I'm really going to miss you.